Today we are going to talk about the diminished chord. The diminished chord is tensed, super tensed, which means that there are a lot of options available for us. We don't necessarily need to respect the rules, matching those elements that we've been talking about since the beginning of this series. Grab your guitar and most importantly, grab the free pack below. The link is in the description of this video. It comes with all the backing tracks, all the charts that we are using through this series. Do it right now. Let's get started. Hi, my name is David Wallerman. Welcome to this channel, which is all about helping guitar players around the world find their voice on their instrument, on this instrument, to develop their own personal musical story. You have something to say musically, let's learn how to say it with all the different tools available to us. This series is about playing over single chords, isolating these chords to understand simple theory concepts and simple phrasing concepts that you can use over more complex chord progressions, group of chords. But today, the single chord we're talking about is the diminished chord. Let's take a look at the construction of that chord. The diminished chord is a 4-note chord made of a root, that's the one, that's the foundation, a minor third, which tells me that the chord is part of the minor family. It's a minor thing. As long as you have a minor third, it's part of the minor world. So we have a minor third. We also have a diminished fifth and a diminished seventh. Now the diminished seventh is not quite the minor seventh. It's smaller. And I know that if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that I often say that intervals, the distance between two notes, can be major or minor, except for the fourth and the fifth, which are perfect, augmented, and diminished. And it's kind of rare on this channel that I've been referring to the seventh as diminished. Why? Because I don't want to confuse students who come in and start learning theory. But there are always exceptions to the rule. And if you hear the term diminished applied to the seventh, well, diminished is always going to be even smaller, even narrower than a minor interval. So if we look at the seventh, if we take a minor seventh from a root, in this case we're going to have A as the root, the one, the note that attracts all the other notes. That's on the 6th string, 5th fret. And if I play a minor seventh from that note, I would have this kind of sound. It's a minor seventh. If I want to make that seventh diminished, I go 1 fret below. So in this case, the diminished seventh is going to be on the 4th string, 4th fret. Yes, it sounds exactly like another interval that we've covered, the major sixth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those two notes are called enharmonic. They sound exactly the same, but they have different functions. So in this chord, we have a 1, which is A, a minor third, a diminished fifth, and a diminished seventh, which is 1 fret lower from the minor seventh. Okay, so we have that sound. Played across 3 octaves here. And if we hear the backing track we're playing over, the notes of the backing track are made of these 4 notes. 1, flat 3, flat 5, and diminished seventh, also referred to as double flat 7. This is what we have. So all the notes here, the bass, the guitar, keyboard, they're all playing around those 4 notes. So if you've been following the series from the start, the logical thing to do is to play those 4 notes, right? And that'll be the arpeggio. Now that won't be the only notes you can play, but if you want to really respect the elements here, you need to play those 4 notes. So let's learn how to play it. It's really simple, and that's the cool thing with the diminished arpeggio. It's called a symmetrical musical element, and you'll see why. If we consider A to be the root, and that's the case in this backing track, everything is attracted to that bop, 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 that sound, that A. Then that's the root, that's the 1. We're going to play that on the 6th string, 5th fret. A minor third can be played on the 6th string, 3 frets higher, so on the 8th fret. So we've got that shape, and I'm playing it with the index and pinky here. We see that shape a lot. We use it in the minor pentatonic scale. and so forth, right? But that's the shape we have. We have 1, flat 3. Then we're going to reach the flat 5. And for that, we are going to play the flat 5 on the 5th string, 6th fret. So the index is going to shift 1 fret higher for that flat 5. And here's the magic thing. The diminished 7th is played 3 frets higher than the flat 5. So we can also use our pinky here. So we have the same movement that we've had here on the 6th string. The only difference is that it's on a different string and 1 fret higher. So we have 1, flat 3, flat 5, diminished 7. Then we're going to continue an octave higher. So the octave of A is on the 4th string, 7th fret. And we can use our index here. And from there, we can play 1, flat 3, flat 5, diminished 7th, just like we did, same movement. So in essence, we just have one movement, index, pinky, change strings 1 fret higher, change strings 1 fret higher, change strings 1 fret higher. If we reverse the movement, if we descend that, it's a very simple movement to have, right? And it sounds kind of cool. It really matches those elements. Now, if we want to play this an octave higher, on the 2nd string, this time, because of the way the guitar is tuned, we're going to have to go 2 frets higher, so on the 10th fret. That's the only thing you need to keep in mind if you're using standard tuning. So if I play that arpeggio 3 octaves across on the backing track, which you're hearing now, it's going to match perfectly. I'm going to try that ascending 3 octaves. 1, 2, 3, 4. Descend. All right, no problem there. It matches perfectly. There's nothing really new. There's nothing super expressive. You're not adding any new color or adjectives to your story here just by playing these notes. You're basically joining a conversation that's going in and really blending in perfectly without adding your personality to that. You can add a little bit of personality by phrasing rhythmically, adding some rhythm things and injecting your personality with the rhythm, but the notes themselves are not really going to add anything. So you're not adding new words to the conversation. You're just reusing vocabulary that is established with the backing track. Well, let's see if we can add some of these notes. We can, of course, and how do we do that? By looking at the missing notes. So the backing track, like I said, is only made of these 4 different notes. 1, flat 3, flat 5, diminished 7. That means that we're missing a 2, we're missing a 4, and we're missing a 6. So 3 notes are available to you, and that's where you need to know your intervals. But the second, for example, can be major or minor, right? We can decide, do I want a major second here, which is 2 frets higher than the root, or a minor second? And that's where you need to decide on your own. There's no right or wrong answers. Which one do you like? Let's try that major second. We're going to add to our 4-note arpeggio, to the 1, flat 3, flat 5, diminished 7th, we're going to add a major second, which is 2 frets higher than the 1. So now instead of having 1, 3, 5, 7, we have 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. That's kind of a cool musical statement over this. I can develop that across the octaves. Okay, that works. Now, just for the sake of showing you that it does also work, let's try the minor second, which is 1 fret higher from the root. What do we have now? Well, we have 1, flat second, minor third, flat 5, double flat 7. I kind of like both. So you just pick one and you develop musical ideas like that. Let's take a look at some other missing notes. The 4th. The 4th is not included in this backing track. We don't have a 4th. So what kind of 4ths are available to us? Well, if we have a root on the 6th string, 5th fret, the perfect 4th is on the same fret next string. So we'd have 5th string, 5th fret here. That's the perfect 4th. What happens if I inject that to our arpeggio? We have now the 1, the minor third, the 4th, diminished fifth, and the flat 7, the double flat 7. So that is kind of an awkward fingering thing here. Maybe we can move this right here. You could. That's where your freedom comes. Now, doesn't matter if you play your fourth here or here. Absolutely not. It doesn't matter. That's a comfort thing, a fingering thing. If you close your eyes, whether I play it on the 5th string or the 6th, it sounds the same, right? Over the backing track. Actually, let's try that. We'll try that sometimes. Just close your eyes. I'm going to play it on the 5th string and then on the 6th. See if you hear a difference. Same musical statement, right? And that's where guitar players kind of get caught into positioning sometimes and a little bit confused because they think, oh, I'm playing in a position that looks like, for instance, Phrygian, but you're not in Phrygian. The position looks like Phrygian, but you're not. It has to do with what you're playing over. That is just a side note, but keep that in mind. Your freedom as a player comes into the picture both in the way you organize your notes on the fretboard, but also your choice of notes. And what really matters is what the outcome is, what people hear. Now, there's something extremely important that we touched on when we were talking about the dominant 7 chord, which you can watch after this video. It's part of this series. Some chords have different purposes, different intents. Some chords are meant to kind of sound open, and some chords are going to be sad, some chords are going to be tensed. This one is a tensed one. Whenever you have a chord that serves a specific purpose, when you're playing over that chord, keep that purpose in mind because you can use that to your advantage. In this case, we said that this backing track is tensed. The diminished chord is tensed. It's not something that really resolves. You're expecting something else after that. So why not accentuate that by adding even more tension? And what better way to add tension to a chord than playing notes that don't match at all, right? Okay, well, let's try that. Let's see what happens. Here's my backing track. I'm going to play random notes. That was tensed, but that wasn't really good. Why? Because even though you're doing some tensed things to accentuate that uncomfortableness that the listener has to bring him back to somewhere safer, you still want something that connects with the listener. You always have to have something. If not, you're gonna sound like maybe a selfish player who just plays for himself, or you might sound like an inexperienced player or just a poor communicator. So what is that something? If it's not the notes, it's the rhythm. If you can still have that rhythm thread, and rhythm is often overlooked, it's probably the most important thing you can do to your music when wanting to make that connection with a listener. So let's do that. And instead of thinking in terms of notes, we're going to think in terms of short rhythm motifs here. That's our beat. And just do rhythm phrases, no notes. Ta-ka-ta-ta, ta-ka-ta. That's one, right? Ta-ka-ta-ta, ta-ka-ta. Let's add some notes to that. So keep the phrase in mind. I think it is something like this. 2, 3, 4. Ta-ka-ta-ta-ta, ta-ka-ta. Okay. Great. Now if I play this without... There's no thread there. You need to have that rhythm element. Now I'm not saying just play like that, but if you incorporate this kind of playing with the more focused, these are the notes I'm going to play, it's going to sound a lot better than if you just randomly throw notes. Let's give that a try. So here are the tools I'm going to use in this short improv. I'm going to use the arpeggio that we covered. Okay. The cool thing with that arpeggio is that you can start it from any notes of the arpeggio. It's always going to be the same fingering. That's why it's called symmetrical. So if I have this shape, I can start the same shape from the minor third. Okay, so I'm gonna use some of that. I'm gonna use pieces of scales that I used, maybe add the major second. And sometimes I'm gonna just play random notes that are kind of close to each other, but with that rhythm, intent, purpose. So I'm gonna let the track guide me for that. Let's give that a try. Let's start with some of the arpeggio. And that's what it sounds like. I used the different elements. I started with the arpeggio, then added a note that I knew I could add, the major second, and then random notes with that rhythm, purpose thread. And that's what emphasizes the tension while remaining musical on this kind of chord. These are just a few ideas that you can inject into your playing. If anything I played does not sound appealing to you, don't worry about it. That's what makes you who you are. Just work and focus on the things that are appealing to you, that are interesting to you, and search. This is a kind of a blank canvas. We're using these different tools as tools to establish something that really becomes you. But the tools shouldn't be an end-all be-all. It's just there to help you express yourself more musically. Don't forget to download this pack. It's available for a limited time and it's free. The pack comes with all the backing tracks that we're using in this series. We're not done yet, more videos to come, and all the charts. And for this particular video, you're going to get obviously the diminished vamp that we were playing over and a PDF chart with different options that you can use. Those are not the only options, just are some of the options that you can use to develop something over this type of chord. If this was your first visit, thank you for watching this video. You should consider subscribing because every single week there's a new video like this coming out. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, helping guitar players around the world find their unique voice on the instrument, develop that voice to tell their own personal musical story. Thank you for watching this. I'll see you very soon. Practice well.